We have approximately.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. I'm your host, Ron Booth, and I'd like to welcome you to Citizens Conversations with the candidates. I want to remind everyone that early voting begins October 16th and runs through November 3rd. And Election Day, as you know, is November 7th. And I'm sure some of you will be listening to this on a recording, so we'll keep that in mind as we go through. I'd like to introduce our moderator and the chairperson of Citizens Conversations, Ms. Yoshina Colbert Bradford. Yoshina?
Thank you, Ryan. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. We're here tonight and graced with the presence of another candidate from District 1 of City of South Fulton. We have Pamela Harris here this evening, and we're excited to have her. And before we get ready to introduce her to come on, we're going to go over a few ground rules. Number one, we just want everyone to be respectful. Make sure that you ask your question and do it respectfully. Number two, I will introduce the candidate. And after the introduction of the candidate, we will go ahead, myself and Ron Booth will start off the conversation and ask a few of the questions starting off to just get us warmed up. And lastly, the candidate will have at least 5 minutes at the end to go over their platform, reiterate anything, or give you any information needed to help with their campaign. So we hope tonight is going to be great. We know that it will. And with further ado, we want to introduce you to Pamela Harris, who is running for District 1 City Council in City of South Fulton. Welcome, Mrs. Harris. How are you this evening?
Hello, Yoshina. I'm fine. And yourself?
I'm great. Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation.
You're most welcome, and thank you so much for coming on. We're just excited to get a chance to just talk with you. We seem like we know you already from next door, other platforms and social media, and we know you give us great information. So we just appreciate you being here, and we're excited that you're running. And I will say this, I just want to congratulate you and take my hat off to you because running and being a candidate, we understand and know that it's a lot of work and it takes a lot of bravery to do it. So I thank you for just stepping and putting your hat in the ring and going ahead and running for city council. So we're looking forward to it.
Well,
Now I'm
thank
going
you.
to go ahead and give you about 2 minutes to just kind of introduce yourself, give us your platform, or just tell us whatever you'd like us to know about you, Mrs. Pamela Harris.
Thank you, Yoshina. And it's Miss Pamela Harris. Thank you so much. I am running for City of South Fulton Council District 1. I've lived in the City of South Fulton for 51 years. I never dreamed of running for any office. I had several residents ask me to run. After the seventh person asked, I told them I had to pray about it. Once I got the release, I said, well, I'll go for it. I started my journey in 2018 while attending several City of South Fulton meetings, and I became a little distressed about some of the mechanics of how the city was running, but most importantly, the lack of turnout in terms of the residents. The only time it seemed that residents would come to the meetings if it was something that they were concerned about. And so I started that journey in 2018. I made flyers. I would drive around just encouraging the residents to show up. Because if you don't show up, you don't have a voice. In 2021, I believe it was 2021, I had the privilege of meeting Mr. Booth. And not too many people know this, but he and I are the original founders of the South Fulton Coalition. And so that has been a really good experience because the purpose of doing that was just to educate the neighbors and disseminate information. We were never concerned about influencing anyone because people have to make their own informed decisions. So I would say that is a little bit about myself. Thank you.
You're most welcome and thank you. So I'm gonna get right into it and me and Ron will start off. So what is your platform for the city? Your candidacy?
Okay, I've been knocking on doors and I've been talking to a lot of the neighbors. You're going to see a lot of videos coming up soon, probably this week. My platform is the constituents platform. At its core, all platforms revolve around a fundamental principle, and that's following the will of the people. With the constituent support, remember that your concerns, hopes, and dreams should shape the future of our great city. And I make a promise, if I am elected, I will serve the entire 4 years. I won't be a 2-year candidate.
So just to follow up, I know you mentioned that you started the South Fulton Coalition. Can you give me a little background on what that is and why it was started again?
Again, the South Fulton Coalition, there were several of us. We would meet at the clubhouse, and the purpose of the meetings was to just bring the neighborhood up to date on what was going on in the city of South Fulton. And after having, oh, I can't remember how many meetings, we decided to organize a group so that we could connect with each other to make sure that everyone knew or knows what's happening.
Awesome. I'm going to turn it over to Ron. I'm going to let him ask a few questions and then we will open the platform for citizens. I don't want to be greedy because I want to ask a lot of questions.
Okay.
Yeah, and before I ask, I'd like to invite everyone to raise your electronic hand using the reactions feature if you have a question. If you don't want to ask a question on camera or over the mic, then just type it into the chat and we'll ask the candidate for you. So Ms. Harris, good to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And yes, we both did work with the South Fulton Coalition. And the questions I have for you are, what are the two things that you really like about South Fulton, the city of South Fulton, and what are two things that you do not like about it? So answer that any way you'd like.
I like our location. We're centrally located. We're less than, for me, I'm less than 15 minutes from the airport. I am about 35 minutes to Buckhead. I can get to Alpharetta in 45 minutes. I can get to Serenbe Farms in 25 minutes. I think we live in one of the greatest areas in Atlanta, in my opinion.
Sorry about that, Ms. Harris. I put her on mute.
Oh, okay.
You can continue.
All right. You said what I like about the city and what I don't like about the city. What I don't like about the city is what, in my opinion, the disrespect that, in my opinion, that I feel like the elected officials are showing to the constituents. When a person is elected, they are an employee, basically. And it doesn't seem like there's any accountability in terms of decision makings. And I think that a lot of things are happening in kind of like in silence. And it's just unfortunate that I would say in the next month or two, a lot of the residents are really going to be surprised at some things that are happening in plain sight. And it saddens me. It makes me sad that we have so many residents that could possibly lose their homes because they don't pay their trash. We have residents that have paid their trash bill and the mortgage company has collected the fee as well. And I'm not really sure how that's going to be fixed, but I think that there needs to be a meeting so that the people can get an understanding of how they'll get their refunds.
All right, thank you, Ms. Harris. Ron, did you have any additional questions? I'm getting ready to go ahead and open the floor to the citizens.
Okay, I just had a quick follow-up. I want everyone, if you're not speaking or asking a question, please put yourself on mute. We don't want to interrupt the candidates when they're giving important information. So if you would do that, please. And we have one person in the waiting room, or one person with their hand up, Shane.
Okay, it looks like we have Mr. Snellings. You can come off mute.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So, Ms. Harris, my question for you is, you have been a very vocal critic of the sanitation program. What is something that you think should have been done differently? Or if you were a council person, what would you have done? What would you have wanted to see differently with the sanitation program?
I don't think that that program should have been implemented without the constituents' involvement. I personally believe in free enterprise. I think free enterprise keeps everybody on their toes. I fortunately have not had any problem with my trash pickup. The only problem that I've had is, you don't know when they're coming. My former provider showed up on time, like between 6 and 8 every Monday. And sometimes the providers come in the morning, the afternoon. You just really don't know. And but I would have had a meeting with the community to get input, and I would have gone with my constituents in terms of a decision on a provider. And this the whole trash situation didn't seem to be rolled out correctly. A decision was made. We were told what to do, what we had to do, and that was it.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Do we have any other constituents who have any questions? You can come off of mute and ask your question.
I can take the next one if no one has anything, Yushina.
All right, go ahead.
We have people joining as we speak, and I'm going to put this person on mute and then ask my question. Ms. Harris, there's been a lot of disruptions in the city council meetings and what I consider to be unprofessional behavior, even bullying. And I'm wondering, and I know they're acting a lot better now because we're close to the election. So I'm wondering what you would do as a city council person when you witness that type of behavior.
What now you're asking this question in terms of if I get elected and we still have the same council, is that what you're saying?
If you get elected and you still witness unprofessional behavior, it doesn't matter who's doing it, whether reelected or a new person that has been elected, like yourself.
I think that I would immediately object to the behavior and abstain from any conversation or, at that point, any vote.
All right, thank you for that. Now I do have a question. I would like to know, and I think on the last recording I asked about real estate. How do you feel about our real estate values here? Do you think our property values are going up at a rate in which they should be? And if yes, how do you see it? And if not, what could we do to improve it?
Well, around the corner, there's several subdivisions. Well, no, there's several homes that are being built that are $1-2 million. And for the seniors that want to retire here, I think they may be okay as long as the tax structure stays the same. I don't know what's going to happen with the millennials. My neighbor's taxes went up $5,000. And she really doesn't know how she's going to afford to pay the new mortgage amount. I think that gentrification is happening. And I apologize. I have a ring and I didn't turn it off. I'm sorry. Uh, Gentrification is happening, and I I really think that we need to kind of push back. In my opinion, when we started this city, there was no master plan. I felt like a few people got together and said, let's start a city. And that's exactly what happened. Everybody just started just doing things. We don't seem to have any structure. All of the tax revenue is on the backs of the constituents. And it kind of reminds me of a lot of viewers won't know who the Keystone Cops are, but the city just reminds me of a Keystone Cop episode. Everybody is just doing what they want to do without any regard to the constituents. I really feel like because of what's happening with the gentrification and with all of these multi-million dollar homes being built, a lot of the younger people will be forced out of their homes because they're not going to be able to afford to pay the taxes.
Thank you for that answer. We do have an answer in the chat, and it comes from a resident who she did represent and say that she is not a resident of District 1, but she would like to know, how will you represent the city as a whole and not just as your district?
My platform, let me just say this, my platform is the constituents platform. And so I would, again, I'm going to represent the city based on my engagement with the constituents. Do I have a platform? No. There are things that I'd like to see happen. There's some things that I'd like to see changed, but my platform is the constituents platform.
All right.
Real estate values are going up, but we are still low compared to the white neighborhoods. But I don't know how long it's going to stay that way.
All right, thank you for that. Now, I do have a question. It's in reference to, now I know a lot of people probably say it's your first time running, so you have no experience. So I guess my question would be, and I'll put this out there. When we started the city, none of the council people had experience. So
Exactly.
with that being said, what will you do to gain or help you when you get in the seat, if you were to take the seat in November?
I have to say, I have to continue doing what I've been doing since 2018, and that's just encouraging the neighbors, attending the meetings, and challenging whatever comes up in the council meeting, bringing situations to light. I'm an advocate, and I will just continue doing what I've done since 2018, be a voice for the people.
And you have done that very well. And I'll ask again, well, not again, but if you take the seat, say you win in November, every city council person who takes office, or every person who takes office, is allowed to hire a team of people. If you were allowed to hire 3 people, who would be those 3 people? Or what would be their role? And why would you put them in that role?
Well, I can think of one. I'd probably hire a Ron Booth if he's not doing anything. He is very proficient. He's trustworthy. And in my time working with him, he cares about the people. He cares about the community. And he would be a good choice. I haven't really thought about that. That's a good question.
I would
But
say, what other profession? If it's not a person.
I'm looking right now at Ron Booth. So when you ask that question, he would be outstanding.
And I would have to say, I would support you in that. I think he would be a great person. What other, so if not Mr. Booth, what other occupations? You don't have to know their names, but what occupation and why would you choose that occupation? That person who does that occupation?
It wouldn't be a bad idea to choose someone that has experience in zoning and development, contracts, someone that has but I think the most important thing, it would have to be a person that has a love and that cares about people, because that's who I am. I care about my fellow man, and this is the only reason I'm running. I mean, I feel like I'm in the last, uh, how can I describe this? I'm in the last uh, part of my life, and I want to make it count for something. I've always cared about people. I've always assisted my fellow man, and I'm just going to continue doing that. Again, I'm not a politician, but I'm a quick study, and I'm not going to keep secrets from the constituents. You know, other
Thank you.
than real estate litigation, what is it? Real estate litigation, and there's one other, personnel.
Yeah.
Other than that, no secrets.
All right, and to our constituents, anyone want to come off mute and ask your question?
Hand is raised. Sure.
Mr. Stellings?
All right, so this is a question that was actually sent to me by another resident.
Mhm.
Were you at the council meeting last night?
Yes.
All right, so at that council meeting, the subject of Camelot and the safety issues in Camelot came up. What role would you take to ensure that? Hold on one second, I'm trying to read this. What role would you take to ensure that Camelot is safe, and that the issues happening in Camelot do not project to other areas in the city?
Wow, that's really a loaded question, because Camelot, there are families, there are elderly people, mostly elderly people that own those units. Unfortunately, a lot of those units have been sold to companies. Most recently, we have uh, we have residents and some elected officials that have bought some of those units. I'm not really sure why, but I'm not a real estate agent, but I do think that the people whose homes that are paid for, if some kind of way they could be offered enough money for their homes to be able to purchase something without having a mortgage, that would be something that I would like very much, because I happen to know one person that lives over there, and she is literally afraid to come out. Once she goes in the house, she does not come out. And it's really, it's really bad. It's my understanding that at one time, an entire building was burned down, and an insurance check was issued, and the people that lived in that building never received their monies. So I have a feeling that this situation it's going to be a long, arduous situation. I don't have all the answers, but uh, I feel very badly about the residents that are living there. I feel badly for the children that are living there. Unfortunately, they don't have any outlet. They have nowhere to go. And this is really a city crisis, in my opinion.
All right, thank you for the answer. We do have a couple of questions in the chat from Deidre Travis. She asks, what would be the salary for the person that you would hire?
I have no idea what the salary is. I don't know. Years ago, and I think I still have the video, one of our representatives came to the council meeting and said that council shouldn't have assistance. But now that the city has grown, the responsibilities have doubled. And so the council people, they do need help. But I couldn't answer the question because I don't know what that amount is.
Okay. And I guess if I don't, can I follow up with Deidre or Travis? Are you still here? Would you specifically say her salary as the council person or maybe her chief officer who she would hire?
Please
I
repeat the
guess,
question.
so what would you, I would say just as a follow-up question to that, what do you feel? And I know recently city council has, I think they actually voted unanimously, if I'm not mistaken, for an increase in the salaries. Do you feel like you should get an increase if you were city council, or the salaries in which they started with should be where they stay? Oh,
I think what should have happened, I've never been a council person, and I don't really know what it requires, but it would have been nice for the council to have a meeting with the constituents and tell them we're overworked, we need a little more money. What do you think about giving us a raise? It was not done that way. A decision was made, an amount was made, and that's the way it was. You know, I just, in my opinion, I would not, I don't think that it's fair to your employers. Years ago, when I worked for the airlines, if I walked in the office and told my manager, listen, I'm tired of working all these hours. I need more money. I want $10,000 more. They would have told me goodbye. It wouldn't have happened. So uh, council people are employers of the constituents. And that's the way, if elected, I'm going to be an employee and I'm going to work for the people and do what's best for the community and not myself.
Absolutely. And I see here, someone made a statement in the chat why they can't see the chat questions. It seems like if you logged in after, just to address that, afterwards, you won't be able to see the chat questions until you've logged in, all of those that come after you. The next question we have in the chat is from Kayla Lewis. With the time you have lived in the city of South Fulton, what have you done already to assist with impacting the city and the community? It's a good question.
Well, I've supported the community in a lot of ways. It's amazing how people call me. I don't have all the answers, but I have been fortunate to be surrounded by a network of individuals that have the answers. And I believe if you find a need, fill it. You'll always be in demand. And I think that we have an obligation to each other to help and support each other. I'm an advocate.
Absolutely. Thank you for that.
Sheena, you're on
Sheena,
mute. You're on mute.
Sorry. I was looking in the chat to see if there were any more questions to follow up. But just to follow up with that, are you a part of any other organizations, any community outreach, HOAs, any other activities?
No, the only other organization that I'm connected to is the South Fulton Coalition. It's not quite active right now because we were set up as a 501c3. It's not a political organization. And so I would not want to use that organization to promote myself. And so, but that is the only other organization at this time that I belong to.
All right. And if for any reason, oh, I see someone has their hand. Miss Joyce Gordon, please unmute yourself.
Thank you. I had several other questions in the chat that was not answered. And number one was, why is my video off that I can't see anybody or that you can't see me? Secondly, I asked the question is, can you present some of the questions that was asked to Dr. Councilwoman Dr. Ryle, so that we can compare apples to apples as far as asking questions.
Yes, I did throw in some questions. We asked the real estate question that I asked Dr. Rao on the last video. We've asked previous questions before you had logged in. So yes, and you'll see that on the recording. And let me see what else you asked in the chat. I'm not sure why your video is not working. You're more than welcome to turn your video on.
Yeah, I can address that.
Okay.
Ms. Gordon, first of all, to answer the other question, if you want a copy of that video, we can send it to you and you can view that at your own leisure from the conversation with Dr. Rao. And secondly, we turn the videos off because people move around in the background for some reason, and it's disruptive to the candidate. So we just keep them off unless someone's talking. So, and I was the one that turned it off, so blame me, sorry.
Okay, I blame you for that because I want to be consistent that we give all parties an opportunity to do what you do for one, do for all, so that there's consistency. That's the issue that I'm having right now, okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
well,
Is there a
the
question that
consistency
you
is
would like
there.
to ask
Well,
the
no,
candidate?
because no, I did have some questions to ask, but that's why I asked you for a list of the questions that she had that we were asking her last week or last 2 weeks, so that we're asking some of the same questions. Now you pulled whatever you wanted to pull, but there were some things that was.
Okay, so hold on,
I
Miss
can't remember all of it.
Miss
But to
Gordon,
ask
hold
me
on one
now
second.
to go back and look at the video and ask the question.
Can you, thank you. So just to address Ms. Gordon, a lot of the questions that we asked Dr. Rao, we cannot ask because she is not our city council person. So Dr. Rao is already in the position. So some of the questions we asked were already questions that either she was working on or already being worked with that position. So they would not be considered comparable. I did ask a few questions that we asked Dr. Rao. So I do want to address that. But if you do have a question, Ms. Gordon, you're more than welcome to type it in the chat, or you can definitely ask Mrs. Harris so that we can keep moving. Any other citizen have any additional questions? All right. So Ms. Harris, just to ask.
Yoshina, there is something that I would like to say. If elected, one thing that I would not do is abuse the P cards or abuse any funds whatsoever. There is I don't know whether the residents are aware, but there's a case going on that will, I think the case will come up in January. The gentleman's name is Jim Beard.
Mm-hmm.
He is the former CFO of Atlanta. And he's going to trial. He's allegedly abused his position of one of the most powerful, he's one of the most powerful executives in the city. And he has been accused of committing federal crimes for his gain, including stealing thousands of dollars of the public's money. And those in government leadership have an obligation to set the organization culture for the ethical conduct. This alleged fraud, if true, is a violation of the oath that this public official has taken. Now, I'm not going to make any accusations, but I do have a copy of P cards that I obtained in, I think, the first quarter of this year. And it was just very disturbing to see payments to 100 Black women, college tuitions, PayPal, telephone bills, just lawn service. And those type things shouldn't happen. So I will say to you that if I'm elected, I will not abuse the cards or abuse any monies whatsoever while I'm in office.
All right. And just to follow up, one of the questions, another question that I did ask Dr. Rao were about the warehouses. what would you have done differently, or what can we do in the future to guarantee that we will not have additional warehouses in the city of South Fulton?
Well, one of the things that was disturbing to me, I learned a few years ago, maybe just 2 years ago, that Georgia is one of two natural rainforests in North America. Uh, uh, this area is the most lush green area, I would say, in the state of Georgia. And I'm just really afraid that the developers, they're violating tree ordinances. They're cutting down the trees, and I'm just wondering if we should contact the Wildlife Association or the forestry people, because there is a tree ordinance and the developers are just coming through and they're just cutting all the trees down. We have a lot of wetlands. There are a lot of water tables under the ground. I'm not sure that some of these structures can really sustain being built on these water tables. So I really think that we should have had some engineers come in and do some studies on where these facilities should have gone. I think it's almost like they're surrounding our city, like, you know, completely around in a circle. I would not have voted to bring all the warehouses in that have appeared. We need we need family businesses. We need ice cream shops. We need other restaurants other than fried chicken and sandwiches. And uh, we're a diverse community. And it would be nice to have nice restaurants. We need sidewalks. I think that when you have sidewalks, you have a tendency to be able to meet people. You get to know your neighbors. It's dangerous, walking around the sides of the road. My neighbor that lives on Cascade Road came in one evening and she was very tired. And her son said, "Mom, sit down." She said, "I forgot to get the mail." He said, "Don't worry, I'll get it for you." She walked outside and a car hit her son and drug him down the street. And that was the last time she saw him. So I really think that the planning should have been better.
Thank you. Richard has a question next.
Yeah, thank you. So last night at the council meeting, we saw three instances where we saw two instances in District 1 where the there was a motion made to deny a strip club of a liquor license because because of the type of establishment it was, and it
Mhm,
violated the city's ordinance. But in
mhm.
District 3, we saw where they were asking for an exception to the ordinance to allow a cigar bar to have an exception from the ordinance. So should businesses be allowed to have exceptions from ordinances in order to operate, and should that be applied equally across the board, or is it on a case by case
It
basis?
should
What are
be
your thoughts on
applied.
that?
It should be applied equally across the board. Uh, I don't know all the details about the clubs that you mentioned, but I don't think that situation is going to go away real quickly. That's going to be an ongoing situation and possibly another lawsuit. Uh, I'm not sure how many lawsuits we have so far. I've lost count.
Yeah.
Too many to even remember.
Well, we won't ask you all the lawsuits going on. We do have a question from the chat. This is from Lydia Bagley. Did you report the abuse with the purchase of the P card to law enforcement? The one that you mentioned, and the gentleman who you mentioned, has he been indicted, and what is his relationship with the city of South Fulton?
I have not, well, the P card information that I've received has been turned over to so to actually to the city manager. And there is I turned the documents over to a group of people, and they are actually moving forward in looking into it and possibly filing a lawsuit against the city. I'm not involved in the lawsuit, but I turned over my documents to them.
Okay, and what is the relationship to the gentleman you mentioned? What is his relationship to the city of South Fulton?
Which gentleman is that?
The gentleman you mentioned about the P cards, Jim, I think Brown, I'm not sure.
I think
You
he
said he
must
was
be.
being indicted, City
Right.
of Atlanta.
I read about it. The trial is coming up in January, and it's pretty bad. Yeah, he's the CFO of Atlanta, and he spent money. I guess it's similar to what happened in Stonecrest and Douglasville, and I'm just looks like it may be heading in our direction, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you. Now, I would like to know, now I know you have an opponent. It's three of you running. We have the incumbent, which is Dr. Rao, yourself, and you have another candidate who is Mrs. Gaines Dingle. My question to you would be, if at any reason, say you don't win the seat, how would you still be active or still have a relationship with whoever takes the seat?
I'm not going to stop what I'm doing. I will continue what I've started in 2018. Back when I went to Staples and made copies and put them on the sides of mailboxes, encouraging neighbors to come to meetings. And if I see something or hear something that is detrimental to any of my neighbors, illegal, I'm going to report it.
Thank you for that, Ms. Harris. There's another question in the chat that asks, as a resident of the area, I'm really concerned about the apartments that they are building by Westlake. It's already a congested area and our schools are already overcrowded. What would be your plan going forward to ease these problems?
Oh boy, it's like we've put the cart before the horse. You know, we're building all these apartments and houses, and we'll strip malls without any consideration of infrastructure. Um, we've got a sewage problem. Uh, I really I don't have an answer for it. I was really disturbed when I saw those units go up next to Publix because of the sewage problem. If you go down Campbellton Road 3, 4 o'clock in the evening, uh, and you go into Public Shopping Center at Sandtown, you cannot get out. It may take you an hour to get out, or between 3 and maybe 5 o'clock. There should have been a light right there at the entrance on Campbellton Road, right in front of Publix. There needs to be a left turning signal for those that choose to come out of the side of Publix. You cannot make a left turn because the students are making a right turn, getting out of, I think, what street is that? Union? It might be, is it Union?
I think that's Riverside, the right by Publix.
Yeah, but
Riverside, yes.
it changes on the other side of
You mean
Campbellton
going
Road,
towards Westlake?
Westlake.
Okay.
Yes. And it's almost impossible to make a left turn. I asked Mr. Venezuela's over a year ago if he could look into putting a turning signal, and that hasn't happened yet. There's several roundabouts that are going to appear on Campbellton Road. I was told that there's going to be one at Campbellton and Stonewall Tell Road. I just found out today that there's going to be a roundabout on Campbellton and Reynolds Road. And this came from the Department of Transportation. A lot of the residents are clueless about these roundabouts and all these homes that are being built. And I think that we're going to have a terrible traffic problem. We're going to, if someone gets sick during the evening, I don't see how an emergency vehicle will be able to get down Campbellton Road, especially heading towards Fulton Industrial. It's bumper to bumper.
And I could see that. We have another question from Lydia Bagel, which is a great question. Does City of South Fulton have a role in building schools, or is that the function of Fulton County?
I believe that's the function of Fulton County, building schools.
Even if we're already a
Yeah.
city, that wouldn't be City of
Yeah.
South Fulton?
No, I think that's I believe that's I believe that's a Fulton County school system. Yes.
So when we became our own city, what was the benefit? How did that benefit our school system if Fulton County no longer provides our services? Well, let me rephrase that. So Fulton County still provides services, but when we were unincorporated, Fulton County had to provide more because we weren't a city. So now that we're a city, how does that change the governing of our?
It's my understanding that they don't do city services.
Okay. So since the schools were Fulton County, wouldn't they be schools for like Westlake? So is that still Fulton, or would that be City of South Fulton?
That would be Fulton.
Fulton, okay.
Yes.
And then I'm going to go, looks like we're a quarter till. I'm going to go ahead and let you, so you'll have enough time to do your closing remarks, share with the citizens everything that you would like, as far as a number to get in contact with you, how to get your signs, how to support you, anything that you would like them to know. And just as a reminder before Ms. Harris closes out, I know tonight, and I did not address this earlier, we had to reschedule candidate Angel Gaines Dingle. And we do apologize to both candidates that we had to have double nights. I had an emergency. My son was in the hospital, and I do apologize that we could not have that scheduled. But with that, we will have a 2-hour section this evening. But Ms. Harris, you have 15 minutes to let us all know about you, how to get in contact with you. Thank you so much for your time. Did a wonderful job. And we look forward to hearing more from you.
Thank you. I'd like to say this: in the heart of District 1, where the heartbeat of our community thrives, I am proud to share my campaign's simple yet powerful tagline. My platform is your platform. This message isn't just a catchy phrase, it's a promise and a commitment to represent you, the residents, on the City Council. At its core, my platform will revolve around a fundamental principle: following the will of the people. In our democracy, the voices of the community should be the guiding force behind every decision made by our elected officials. I firmly believe that your concerns, hopes, and dreams should shape the future of our city. I believe that when we discuss economics, business, and industries, we need to continue that discussion. I want to have discussions to understand that a thriving local economy will benefit us all. It means more job opportunities, increased revenue for our city, and a vibrant community that we can all be proud of. But here's the key: I won't make these decisions in isolation. Every choice that requires a vote will be made with your input. Your insights will help guide our direction, ensuring that the decisions made on City Council genuinely reflect the needs and desires of District 1. I'm here to be your voice on City Council, just as it's supposed to be. Together, we will work to create a community that is not only prosperous, but also reflects the values and aspirations of its residents. The essence of democracy lies in the empowerment of its people. With your support, I will continue to build a District 1 that thrives, grows, and evolves according to your vision. Remember, my platform is your platform. Let's shape the community's future together, one informed, resident-driven decision at a time. Together, we can make District 1 the best it can be. Integrity, transparency, accountability. Vote for Pamela Harris.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ms. Harris. That was amazing. Do you have?
There's one other thing. I do have a website. It's Pamela Harris, the number 4, district1.com.
You said Pamela. Let me put
Pamela
it in the
Harris.
chat for everyone.
Thank you. It's Pamela
Pamela
Harris,
Harris,
the number 4,
the number 4.
district1.com.
Okay. .com. Pamela Harris, the number 4, District 1, and the number 1, correct? .com.
District1.com, yes.
Awesome. It's in the chat. And next we'll have Mr. Ron Booth. He's going to go ahead and close us out and stop the recording to get ready.
Well, thank you. Thank you all for tuning in. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. And if anyone has any questions for Ms. Harris, please go to that website and send them to her. And with that, I'd like to thank Ms. Harris again, and I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording for now. But please ask those questions. And the other thing you can do is to type them in the chat, and we'll get them to Ms. Harris.